not, let's go on to deputations of appointment by appointment, and welcome to the gallery, particularly, especially the large crowd from Phillipstown School. It's good to see you there. First deputation, Anne Dingwall. Just so everybody is aware, before they speak on anything, the whole meeting is live streamed. So some of the comments you may want to make, you might just think about. That wasn't directed at you, Anne. There's also, just, I'm sure you'll be aware of this, Anne, but there's a 10-minute limit on deputations, and sometimes we put up timing devices. Okay, but we're in your hands. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor and councillors. The purpose of my deputation, which you've kindly afforded me, is to provide clarification regarding a relevant matter, namely road stopping, in the report of the Whenuthan Waimarie Community Board, dated the 5th of May 2014, shown as item 21 on the council agenda. May I draw your attention to item 1 in that report, item 21 on the council agenda, Helmores Lane Bridge. In particular, clause 2.4, which states, the section of Helmores Lane between Harper Avenue and the Avon River was stopped by council resolution on 20th of May 1967, although the road has never been physically closed. A similar statement was included in the public consultation leaflet entitled Helmores Lane Bridge Access and Repair Options, and on the council's Have Your Say webpage earlier this year. And that wording said, the section of Helmores Lane between Harper Avenue and the Avon River was stopped by a 1967 council resolution and essentially became part of Little Hagley Park. The road was never physically closed. When I received the public consultation leaflet with this statement, as a resident in the vicinity, and having a long association with the Helmores Lane Bridge as a pedestrian, cyclist and motorist, I decided to research the history of this stopping. I wondered whether, given the date 1967, the stopping had been the first step undertaken ahead of implementing the proposed and highly controversial road through the park, Hagley Park, a proposal which didn't proceed, as every mayor of Christchurch since has been reminded. Now, with the willing and diligent assistance of Council Archives staff and their initiative, and my visit to the Council Archives recall on Ron Guthrie Road, it has been established. First, there's no record of a council meeting held on the 20th of May 1967, the date specified in the Whenuthan Waimarie Community Board report to you. Our poring over the council minutes book for 1967 made us none the wiser. Secondly, the New Zealand Gazette has never published a notice declaring the section of Helmores Lane between Harper Avenue and the Avon River to be stopped. Editions of the New Zealand Gazette, as far back as the 1940s, were examined by a council archivist for all references to Helmores Lane. No published stopped declaration notice for any section of Helmores Lane was found. The Helmores Lane Bridge has not been stopped. The Helmores Lane Bridge is not stopped. As you'll be aware, lawfully stopping a road is not a matter undertaken lightly, particularly when the stopping of a particular road is controversial, as in the case of Helmores Lane. It has to be a matter of concern for us all that the statement, the section of Helmores Lane between Harper Avenue and the Avon River was stopped by a 1967 council resolution and essentially became part of Little Hagley Park, was included in the public consultation leaflet and webpage as a statement of fact, a relevant matter upon which submitters could rely for their preferred access and repair option. The Whenuthan Waimarie Community Board's recommendation to you is for the Helmores Lane Bridge to be repaired and opened for light vehicles once again, along with a short-term solution to have the bridge only available to pedestrians and cyclists, making use of available earthquake funding. However, you'll note from the summary of submissions in the Whenuthan Waimarie Community Board report, clause 3.8, that a narrow majority of submitters, 53.5%, indicated that the bridge should continue to be used only by pedestrians and cyclists. That was option A. It cannot be known how many submitters would have preferred an option to keep the bridge open for light vehicles, as before the earthquakes, had the misleading statement claiming the section of Helmores Lane between Harper Avenue and the Avon River was stopped not been included in the consultation document. I submit that the public consultation process, Helmores Lane Bridge access and repair options, was flawed. The outcome of the public consultation process cannot be said to be representative of the community's views. Yes.
Indeed, and thank you for the excellent research. That's actually incredibly interesting.
Well, I can't praise the council archive staff enough. It was after we'd looked through the council minutes book and couldn't find anything, one of them said, oh, it would have been in the New Zealand Gazette. Oh, yes, it would have been, or it should have been. But they went right back to the 1940s. Anything to do with Helmores Lane? No. Okay. They did find something about, yes, the bridge was in a reasonable condition in the 1970s to continue to be used for traffic for a little bit longer, but nothing about stopping.
For a little bit longer in the 1970s. Okay, thank you, Anne. Are there any questions? Jamie.
Thank you for that, Anne. Yeah, and I found that very interesting as well. Look, as a resident that lives in the area, when you're commuting then, I guess, from northwest of Christchurch to the city, in real terms, what does that path look like then currently with the bridge being closed? And reading between the lines, I assume you're in favour of the Community Board recommendation, which is to have the bridge open to light traffic. But why would that be a good idea?
Yes, well, I mean, I made my deputation from a neutral point of view, just simply to state what the situation is. I've opted for the option to keep the bridge open again, not the third option for keeping the bridge open at huge expense, but to get it open in the meantime with an eye to doing the long-term repairs when the funding's available. And I can use the example this morning, just coming to this meeting, and I also came into the Community Committee meeting on Tuesday, and coming out of Queen's Avenue, normally if the bridge had been open, I would have gone into from Queen's Avenue, turned left into Homeward Road, then right into Helmores Lane, and then into the, sort of the middle of Harper Avenue, and then up to take me along Park Terrace. But with the bridge closed now, what I witnessed on Tuesday morning, and the same again today, came out of Queen's Avenue, the full length of Homeward Road, from Fendleton Road up to Russell Street, stationary cars, all waiting to turn left into Fendleton Road, to either go to Riccarton Addington or to go up Riccarton Avenue, Harper Avenue. If you try then to go up Homeward Road to turn right onto Russell Street, no, forget that. So I ended up both mornings, and quite successfully, but it's not desirable from the traffic point of view, doing a long rat run, the very thing that Helmores Lane residents don't want for people to use the bridge. But this case, my rat run was left into Homeward Road, left into Garden Road, up Fulton Avenue to Russell Street, up and across Russell Street into Aikman's Road, eventually to Winchester Street, and then out onto Carlton Mill Road, where I could quickly then get through to Park Terrace. So I did that on Tuesday, and I did it today.
I travel that road every morning. What I wanted to know, and every time that road is jammed, Homeward Road, I've tweeted Skirt, not while driving, pulling over, and I am told that there are no roadworks in the area that are exacerbating or adding to the congestion on Homewood, because there's been a suggestion that that kind of congestion is temporary, and once things calm down, it'll... What's your opinion of that suggestion, that the congestion is temporary and related to some of the stuff that's going on repair-wise in the area? Well,
we've had Skirt in our street since the beginning of November, and no sign of them leaving yet, but certainly that's not contributing to the problem, because once you get out of Queen's Avenue, wow, there's the traffic in front of you, the full length of Homeward Road.
The traffic that's trying to get onto Fendleton Road from Homewood to access Harper to go down into town. At the moment, if you go onto Rossall or try and turn onto Rossall and around Carlton Mill that way, it's jammed that way as well. So this would essentially give people a much faster route onto Harper Ave, then either onto Park Terrace or down Beeley.
You mean if the bridge were open?
Yes, if the bridge were open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
And it would make it easier, because then there'd be fewer cars then waiting to turn on, because a whole section of them that want to go to town would have been removed from that queue.
As dangerous there, I've seen
Yes, there's all sorts of manoeuvring going on, because when people see this queue, they decide, oh no, we don't want to join that. We're going to have to do U-turns and.
Thanks, Anne. You're probably aware too that in the report before us, the traffic engineers are really clear though that the congestion in Helmore's Lane, if it's opened, the contribution, say, to relieve traffic congestion, their word is it'll be negligible. And also they say that any benefit will be outweighed by the safety issues for people wanting to walk or use bicycles. Would you like to comment on that, on what they've written there?
Well, I'm not a traffic expert and I don't want to take them on, but and I did put in saying that I'd like the bridge kept open for vehicles, but kept open made one way. So it's simply cars going down Helmore's Lane, turning left onto Harper Avenue, so that you wouldn't have cars travelling at speed from Harper Avenue into Helmore's Lane, particularly later in the day. Yes, and there were some other submitters who said that as well. So to relieve the morning congestion. I see my 10 minutes is finished.
Item, I'm not sure in what order this morning. There might be a bit of shifting of order, but thank you very much indeed. The next submitter is Tanya Smith. Is Tanya here? Tanya is speaking on item 22, Bishopdale Community Centre and Library on page 141. Welcome indeed. We're in your hands, Tanya.
Thank you. Good morning, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. My name is Tanya Smith and I'm from the Bishopdale Community Trust. The Trust has been in Bishopdale for 15 years and has two aspects to its work. So we have a community house called Sumby House, which is on Farrington Ave, where we have a range of groups and activities that we run. And we have a community development arm within Bishopdale. We run the annual Celebrate Bishopdale community event, and we also produce a Bishopdale Bulletin, which is a community newsletter that is distributed to nearly 3,000 houses around Bishopdale. So I'm here to talk about the proposal for the Bishopdale Library and Community Centre, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to ensure that the Council were aware of the value of the space to the community in Bishopdale, of the library and the community centre. I've been working in my role for about 16 months now in Bishopdale, and the first thing I heard, and often I hear it every day, is how important this space is for the community. We've had the pleasure of having the Christchurch Community Response Team door knocking in Bishopdale in November 2013. So they visited all the houses in Bishopdale and asked people how they were doing after the earthquakes. And we had several key concerns that came back, but the main concern that people had was the library. That was often spoken about, that people wanted this space back and how important it was for them. I also know that the mall itself, the retail spaces in the mall have been quite affected by not having the community centre and the library open. A lot of foot traffic comes through Bishopdale going to the library, and so the mall has suffered quite a lot economically around not having that space open. So I haven't been able to come here with a mandate from the Bishopdale community to put to you. The recent process has been very fast. So as you'll know, the report from council staff came through last week with recommending a repairing of the current building to 34% of the new building standard code. And then the Fendalton Waimari Community Board met on Friday, and their recommendation was a rebuild of the building. So I, in my role in the Trust, I really want to be here to support the Community Board's recommendation and believe that this fits with the Council plans for new medium density housing in Bishopdale, and also to regenerate the mall. And also this suburb has had quite a large growth since the earthquake. We've had a lot of businesses being set up over in the airport, so we get a lot of traffic coming through Bishopdale, and a lot of people see the desirability, of course, of living in Bishopdale because it's a great little suburb. So I'm here to ask, I guess, for time for consultation to be done with the community. I really want to make sure that the council is aware of the importance of this space for Bishopdale, for this community space, not necessarily in the form that it is in now. But yeah, I'd love to have the opportunity to work. We've got some great strengthening communities staff in the Fendalton Waimari ward. And I'd love to have the opportunity to work with them to do some consultation with the community around this as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Yanni, this is not likely to be dealt with today, despite the fact that it's on the report, just so you're
Yes,
aware,
thank
so
you.
we don't
Thanks,
delay you
Jamie.
or ruin your day.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay. That's the case, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. I did let
Don't put the
Tanya know as
timer
well.
on, this is me.
But basically, the community committee's had a report, and because there's quite a large amount of money, there's a number of requests for funding, and we're in 2 weeks' time doing our annual plan. We want to try and get councillors discussing together collectively what approach we might best take. So that would be my view on what we should do.
Okay, it is on the agenda, however, you're quite right. Are there any questions of Tanya? Jimmy?
Question. You mentioned earlier you support Fendelton by Mary, the community board, regarding to the rebuild the new facility. But based on the staff information, if rebuild a new facility, probably the budget deficit for $2.8 million. But if go to the staff recommendation, we have surplus $150K. So if the lack of the $2.8 million, what is your idea, especially in this situation? Council, have a kind of budget constraint. What's your idea? Whether community can contribute some part of that?
Yeah. I don't know whether they can. I mean, I know that it's a vital space for the community. So I think if we put it back to the community to see, I think that's part of that consultation process. What resources do we have in the community that people can contribute, that we can put forward as well? I totally understand that there's a huge difference between those, the two financial aspects of those options. And I guess as a community agency that is always struggling for funding, I totally understand that discrepancy. But I also do think that the council are looking at putting more people into Bishopdale. So I think that also needs to be equal. The services need to be equal to that as well. I think that's vital. Yeah. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.
Look, thank you for your deputation. I'm just wondering if, for example, council decide that, the $4.5 million is more than we should expend at this time, and that we go for an upgrading. In effect, the building will be upgraded, what the current problems would be fixed in that upgrading. Would that be workable for you as a community worker?
Yes. I think the space is really important, and so if that's rather than not have anything, obviously that would be, if that's what we could have, then that's all we could have, then that we'd have to go with that, I guess. Yeah, I think my concern might be that the community. So because I wasn't working there when the building was in operation, I've spoken to the community development worker that was there at the time, and with other community members as well. So the top story space that was rented out by a lot of different agencies was quite cold, and I know there's leaks and heating problems, and I'm just trying to remember if they were being addressed in because there was $350,000 improvement.
My understanding is they would be in any upgrade.
Right, okay, yeah. I guess the other interesting thing is that obviously it's 3 years down the track, so a lot of the services who use that community centre space have found other places, whether temporarily or not. So I think with the idea of having a new building, it would be purpose-built to what the community needs now, rather than that space, which I think is 50 years old, is that right? I think
far away.
Yeah, which I would suggest doesn't necessarily meet the community needs now, particularly with the change from the earthquake. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Very quickly, with regards to the growth in Bishopdale as well, the more expensive option for the new build is actually a smaller space.
Yes, yeah, I understand that 800 square metres, wasn't
Right,
it? Yes,
so something that is obviously able to be accommodated within the budget, that removes all the issues that are there with the building at the moment, but provides the larger space, which we're hearing is needed. That larger space is an important component in the consideration, or element of the consideration?
I think since the earthquake, the YMCA have built, well, not since the earthquake, but the YMCA have built their space, and so that has taken some of the services away that were using that top community space. I'm sure that people would fill it again, but I guess the Citizens Advice Bureau are now at the Fendalton Waimari Library Community Service there, so and the Community Constable is not looking at coming back to Bishopdale, I understand. So some of those key supports or key agencies that used to use that space are not possibly coming back to it. So yeah, that's
I just, as you talked about the other services relocating, going other places, I just wondered, is there a kind of Bishopdale vision, or is there a kind of overall plan for Bishopdale in terms of
that's
services?
a wonderful idea. It is, really it is. That's a great idea. I guess what I've noticed in my time is that there has been a lot of passion and after the earthquake, a lot of energy around this, but I think people's energy has ebbed, as we know, when we hear from research and everything, this is a difficult time. So I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think it would really help with the mall as well to rejuvenate that space.
So maybe council working with government over government services, maybe,
Brilliant.
I know in some areas the loss of post shops and Kiwi banks have been quite disruptive, so maybe having a bit more of a wider context than just the facility would be useful.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, Yanni. Yeah, I think, there's a lot of changes within the mall tenancies as well because of the lack of foot traffic. So the mall itself is quite at risk, I think, of turning into, a $1 shop sort of place rather than the potential that it does have, actually.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yanni.
Thank you very, very much indeed for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.